Hello, my name is Mercury, and welcome to this brand new episode of Media FA. Today, I'm Lon, and today I'll be discussing the final DCEU movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And what a shitty way to go out, am I right? So, yeah, this is the last one. The next thing we'll be covering DC will be Suicide Squad Isekai, which I announced if you check our Instagram because our Twitter isn't up right now. If you check our Instagram, you might have seen that I posted this week's episode, and you also might see that you might notice that this episode is technically a bit late. That's because I couldn't record it yesterday because yesterday was the Wilds beta, and I played that all night, and I just didn't record it. So I'm recording this way later than it's supposed to be. It's releasing today, so that's all that really matters in that case. That we are currently on time for all the other episodes, which I haven't recorded yet. Okay, so Aquaman Lost Kingdom. Yeah, I guess it's the last one. The next thing we'll be covering is a little bit of DC from this year, specifically Suicide Squad Isekai. Then after that, we're probably gonna cover Batman, Cape Crusader, and then the Penguin, and then finally, after all those are done, we'll be covering. That's when Creature Commanders will be starting, and when the DC Universe is officially going to begin. So, some background on this movie. This movie got delayed a lot of times. It was supposed to come out, I think, like originally, it was supposed to come out in March of 2022. I'm pretty sure. If I'm not mistaken in that front, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be March. I'm just going to check. Okay. No, it was supposed to come out in December of 16th, 2022, but then it was delayed to March, and then delayed to. Then really was supposed to come out on on Christmas Day, then moved forward to the 20th of December, then pushed back to the 20s to the 22nd, which I think was officially a Friday. So yeah, this movie went through a lot of delays. It we didn't really know what it was about. We didn't know if it was coming out or not. But eventually we did get the trailer, which I did talk about when this movie was coming out. We did get the movie, obviously, I'm talking about. And yeah, no, it's just kind of a sad whimper to really end the CEU on. It's not a good movie. Really isn't. Yeah, I want to say something else about the background about this movie. I don't remember right now. Do I remember? Do I know what I want to say about this movie? So for this movie, oh yeah, I remember now. So for this movie, I actually didn't watch it in theaters. This is the second time that year that I didn't watch a DC movie in theaters. The first, so I didn't watch Shazam in theaters. I did watch. I did watch Flash and I did watch Blue Beetle in theaters, and then I didn't watch Aquaman in theaters. So this is one of the only times this has ever happened, and like with superheroes, especially DC. Like the only time I could ever think of it happening was like the Suicide Squad movie, where the second one. I mean, with DC, it's been kind of like that. I feel with Marvel, I'm pretty sure I watched almost all of them in theaters. I think except the first Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, maybe. Thor, Captain America. I think I don't know. Like there are a few movies that I don't remember going to theaters for, but I think I did watch a lot of them in theaters. Like a lot of them I did watch in theaters. So I at least remember that. Like, yeah, recently, I went to watch every Marvel movie in theaters. With DC, that's not been the case. I have watched a lot of them in theaters. I remember watching Batman v Superman in theaters, Wonder Woman in theaters, Justice League in theaters. I remember watching Aquaman in theaters, Shazam as well. None of the 2020 ones, which makes sense. I didn't go to watch any of those in theaters. I didn't wait. A lot of them I didn't. Like I didn't. I remember watching Man of Steel in theaters, even though I probably did. I don't remember watching. I've never watched the first Suicide Squad movie. I didn't go see Birds of Prey in theaters. I did see Birds of Prey. I didn't go see it. I didn't see it in theaters. And the same with Wonder Woman. I watched Wonder Woman when it came out on like HBO Max. Then I did watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, sadly, but that was streaming exclusive. Doesn't really count. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't go watch. I didn't go watch the Suicide Squad in theaters, even though it was in theaters, but it was also on HBO Max, which I don't really. I didn't really care. And then I watched all of the 2022 ones, which were just Black Adam. And then I also watched, and then what I said, I watched Flash and Blue Beetle in theaters. That's really about it. So, um, I watched it earlier this month for this review. I didn't wait until I watched all of them. I want to really get in on it, and I'm also the only one here talking about it, so really doesn't matter. But like, yeah, so this movie isn't the best. I did hear some conflicting reports on it. Some people call it okay, some people call it bad, some people actually enjoyed it. This is actually the only 2023 this is the only DC movie since like DC EU movie since I think Shazam, or like I don't know if Birds of Prey made back its money, but it's definitely one of the it's definitely one of the only movies that that came out for DC to not bomb completely. I think it did underperform, but it didn't absolutely bomb. Yeah, it's the only not bomb, mainly because they didn't really like talk about it much. So yeah. Anyways, let's actually talk about the movie. So obviously starting off with what we always start off with, the CGI in action, and I gotta say the CGI here is okay. It doesn't look. It sometimes looks good, like it sometimes looks very passable. Sometimes it just looks kind of bad. Sometimes it looks like actually kind of not bad. It looks impressive. It's not impressive, but like I guess fine. Like there's like fine, passable, and bad, and this movie goes through all those phases, and it like yeah, yeah. I feel like that's just like this movie. That's just like uh what this movie was. It's just like fucking like just okayness with them. The action is also fine. I like it's obviously the highlight of the movie, mainly because somehow fucking horror what do you call it? Horror directors really are really good at doing superheroes, and the action here is like at least, and like it's not boring, but like I don't know, there's not much to really say in that front, mainly because it's just not that interesting. I don't think it is. I don't know. The action does look kind of cool sometimes, and it has some interesting like camera movements and all that that we don't really see in a lot of movies, like superhero movies. But it's definitely apparent in the Aquaman like series of movies, which is the 22. So actually, like just having it's nothing special. It's nothing you haven't seen before with Aquaman. It is a bunch of like one shot it's a bunch of like one take shots, and that's always cool to see. But that was in the first Aquaman movie. Like it feels like it's a lot. It's deriving from that style, and it's not a style that I it's not a style I don't like for the action of of the movie, but it's definitely one where it's apparent that it's like just this style, and there's not much actually. There's not much actually. There's not much actually like there to like elevate or anything. It's just the same action from the last move from like the last Aquaman movie. At least from I remember, I haven't rewatched it yet, and yeah, it's been almost 6 years since that movie came out, and I haven't rewatched it yet. So there's that. But yeah, the thing that I'll say about it, again, CGI is fine. Action is like the same thing you came from with the first Aquaman. It's the same thing as the first Aquaman movie. There's not much like anything special, stylistic wise. It's just the same. It's just like if you came here to watch Aquaman, that's what you really got. Let's talk about the characters next. So obviously starting off Arthur Curry slash Aquaman, and I gotta say, I don't remember a single. I don't remember him ever growing in this movie or like changing anything. It's definitely a problem with these like later movies. It's this movie. It feels like Aquaman doesn't really go through anything, and anything that actually happens to him character wise uh isn't really impactful. I don't know, man. It's just for me, Aquaman. This movie didn't really do much. He's just kind of jokey and like Marvel jokey, and that's not necessarily that interesting of a character trait. It's really not. Like I don't know, man. It's so just like generic superhero, and they like make fun at him sometimes like, oh yeah, he talks to fish. Like I don't know, the talk to fish thing is kind of funny, but like it's funny when again others people do it, but like with Aquaman doing it, I feel like it's a bit out of character. What I do like is that he is kind of just this wild card that like doesn't really care about doesn't really care much about being king. Like doesn't really care about the fancy stuff of being king and all that. I feel like that could have been explored more, but obviously it's not. And it's explored a little bit of Aquaman and Ocean Master's relationship. That's more an Ocean Master's part, and I'll talk about him later. But yeah, no, Aquaman is just kind of there as a main character. He's just kind of Aquaman. He's just kind of there because we need to follow up main character, and Aquaman does kind of fit that role. Like aside from that, there's not really much to write home about here. Um, for Aquaman, it's just kind of yeah, no, just like everything I've said up until now. He's just kind of generic. Doesn't really grow. I don't mind having him as a wild card, but he's always been the wild card, goofy character, and the fact he has a son isn't really that much it's more important to the plot than to the actual character. And every time he like has like somebody in trouble for like in his like family, immediate family, and all that, it doesn't really change him. Like, there's no like actual character growth here. At least from what I remember, and even then, like this movie doesn't really do a good job of making you remember anything about it. So yeah, who know like what gives? It's not a yeah, it's not a good Aquaman. It's not good for Aquaman in this movie. It's just not. That's that's really about it for Aquaman. I feel he's just there. That's really it. He's just there, and I wouldn't say does his job, but he definitely has like a role technically, but it's not that important. I don't know. Okay, next up is Ocean Master. I think Ocean Master would have had the most interesting plot here if it like actually kind of mattered. So Ocean Master is brought back as a good guy in this movie, or at least on the side of Aquaman, and I feel like that is it is interesting in and of itself because he doesn't really deserve that kind of redemption, or like a lot of people don't really trust him and don't really see him as like the person that needs to be redeemed. That's very apparent throughout the entire movie about him trying to gain people's trust after what he did, and he just like I don't know. I think it would have been interesting if it was explored more and not really hammered in your face that people don't trust this guy, and then like he does one good thing and it's like, yeah, I trust you now. I don't know. Ocean Master would it's a lot more interesting. They do kind of push the fact that he probably would have been a much better suited king if he didn't want to do all the genocide stuff with the humans. But like I feel like Ocean Master would have been a lot of very interesting if it was like handled like with different writers maybe that handled him differently. I feel like we could have seen that just like more stuff with him and really how he feels about uh, his brother being king and how like not fit he is, and seeing him like I guess what happens in the movie that like he sees his brother not being fit for the role of king, and even then Aquaman steps up and has to be king because like people depend on him and all that, and I feel like that's that's good. That's what that's what we kind of like needed for this for the movie, but that doesn't really matter in the end. Like people show him compassion at the end, and he leaves and joins human society. But like I don't know, like, we don't really see him getting an appreciation for humanity in any way. So I feel like Ocean Master could have been a lot more interesting, but he was just not handled in a way where I feel like I can call him that, like comfortably call him that. It's just like not what I really envisioned for the character. I do like what direction they were going for him, sort of like at least having some kind of redemption, because I feel like he could have been redeemed in some way. But then again, I don't know. The writing just wasn't there for the character, and it kind of floundered a little and didn't really stick the landing that they really wanted to have. All right, so next up is I think the most wasted character with the most wasted potential in the entire movie, Black Manta. And the reason why is because I feel like I like what they tried to do with Black Manta here. I like that they introduced a new villain that they need to build up. Black Manta came along and he had the motivation, he had the background. And he had the appearance. Yeah, he also had the fanfare. Black Manta would have been an easy slam dunk villain if they didn't do the most awful thing with him in the entire movie. Like Black Manta is like is just a hater for Aquaman and like wants to see him fall and all. And that's already enough. And like I guess the writers really found themselves not being able to do much with the character because he is a returning villain. He isn't new, and so they can't really build upon him and like show how how much he's changed since the first movie, or like what really affected him, because that's already been shown. But I don't think that should really stop writers. But I guess that's the case, that they found themselves in some kind of corner and couldn't get themselves out of it, and so they had to do something else with Black Manta's character. And by something else, I mean not use it at all. Instead, what they do with Black Manta is they pretty much strip him of his character. Like he gets corrupted by the Black Trident, which is used by the Lost Kingdom that once was part of Atlantis, and basically he gets corrupted, and that's him throughout the entire movie. Most of the movie, we don't really see Black Manta. We see whatever the fuck the main, like the actual villain is called, which is Kordax. Yeah, with Black Manta, he isn't Black Manta. He's Kordax masquerading as Black Manta, and that's kind of disappointing. We didn't really see much of Black Manta's character in the movie. We know he hates Aquaman. We know that's why he gets taken over. What I do like is that he doesn't allow himself to be saved by Aquaman at the end, which is a nice change of pace with other villains. He hates Aquaman that much, and I do appreciate that. Like, what we see of Black Manta could have been a good character, but it's sadly not handled in a way where I think it's good, or it's really like necessary all that much. It's just plain old. It's just nothing good. It really is just nothing well done with the character, and I wish I could talk about Kordax when he comes in, just does nothing as a character. So yeah, I mean, like Kordax is just a plain villain. Manta is completely underutilized and doesn't really do much. It's just kind of bad what they do with Manta. And the thing is, like, Manta's such a fan favorite Aquaman villain, one of the only Aquaman villains that people really know about. So, and like people love Black Manta. So seeing him just kind of reduced to a meat puppet is just bad and not what we wanted out of a movie focusing on Black Manta. And the thing is, like, Black Manta's suit looks like Black Manta, like everything is down to a T. But the fact that this movie couldn't be about Black Manta, it had to be about like the Lost Kingdom, the Forbidden Kingdom, whatever the fuck it was called. It really like upset me, and I wanted to know like what they would have done in the earlier scripts for this movie. I'm guessing that it went through a lot of development, so like it got delayed a full year. I mean, that's not really a lot. I mean, Morbius got delayed 2 years. At least more than 1 year. I don't know how it turned out, but like, but like Aquaman, which is kind of like I don't know, like Black Manta's writing just didn't feel like that good, like of like what they could do with Black Manta. And I feel like what they did with the first movie was like a good start with Black Manta, but then they kind of floundered out with this movie. They flunked it. Like it's pretty bad what they did with Black Manta, and and it's very disappointing. So yeah, that's all I say about Black Manta. There's some other characters. All I gotta really say about the other characters, like it's not, they're not really that important. Like Mera, which was a big part of the last movie, is in this movie a lot, and I'm guessing it's because a lot of Amber Heard scenes were cut after the trial for Johnny Depp. I'm not gonna go into that, but I have a feeling that that's why a lot of her scenes aren't like there, and she's not that important, even though she is like made to be kind of important. It's not. I don't know. She's just. I feel like her scenes were cut, and it definitely. It definitely shows that they were cut. Like you can feel this movie was supposed to be longer than it actually was, and have a lot more of Mara than it actually did. So yeah, like there's other characters I guess I can talk about. Like there's like a bunch of fish characters that it doesn't matter, like, that don't really matter. But those like characters, like there's usually a lot of one-off characters. I'll talk about them later. Really. Um. What else is there? I don't really know. Like a lot of the characters don't really matter. They're mostly there to support. Yeah, they're supporting characters. I know, but they don't matter in the end, and they don't really do much to the story. It's just there. Like they are just there to add fluff to the narrative and to have more characters there. I guess there's some weird. I'll get to the plot in a bit, but there are some weird character decisions that I feel like the movie didn't like didn't really think of. So yeah, let's actually move on to the plot right now. I want to get this over with. So the plot, it's not good. I feel like they had a lot of cool. I feel like they had some ideas here that could have worked for a serviceable plot. I feel it's not bad. It's not that it's not that it's bad. It's just kind of, it is bad, but it's like badly executed. It's not like the ideas were like flawed or anything. It's just that like they didn't pull it off in a way where I think that it was satisfactory in a way. There's a bunch of weird concepts they introduce here, like there's this whole scene with them going to with them going to like a desert place, and it doesn't really matter. Like desert's there, but then there's like a bunch of creatures that are also there that I feel like the movie could have done without. And that's the same thing with like a tropical place that I don't remember what the fuck the point of that. Oh yeah, no wait, it was because like that was the base. But like there's this whole ass scene of them like, going after like tropical creatures. Then there's like the fish like the black market or some shit about the Atlanteans with like these weird things. It's just a lot of weird concepts in this movie that like I feel like it's kind of there for it to be quirky and to have a lot of like, other stuff to have here, and they don't really do much for the actual for the actual plot. It's just there for fluff's sake and to have interesting action sequences where I feel like you could have had interesting action sequences if you just use your villains. Like Black Manta has a whole ass fleet, and they like barely use that. They've used it once in the entire movie, and that's really everything they use for like of this fleet that like Black Manta has. It's just this like one scene, and then it's all like this fantasy sci-fi stuff, and like I'm not opposed to that at all. But the thing is like you're introducing too many concepts into this movie that don't need to be here, and thus the movie suffers. The movie suffers greatly because of like of like what we of these concepts, because you're just like, okay, what the fuck was the point of that? That's not brought up anywhere else. So I feel like there are weird concepts here And another weird thing I guess I can mention is that this movie has a very, very, very big emphasis on climate change and its message. This movie hammers that shit in like it's nobody's business. I guess everyone's business. But point is, this movie has a very obvious climate change and global warming message, and I am not opposed to that. I'm not gonna get into it again. That is not our. We're not a science podcast. I'm not here to go into like climate change and all that. But I know when things have messages, and I know when to talk about those messages, and this is one of those instances. I am not opposed to movies having a message about wanting to fix global warming, wanting to show the effects of global warming. But this movie, it feels like how a middle schooler would write like a PSA about global warming using DC characters. It feels super forced. It feels like every single instance of them mentioning it, it's like, oh, this could happen. And guess what? This is happening. And we have to stop it now. Hear that, guys? We gotta stop global warming now. It's so goddamn forced that it becomes genuinely kind of obnoxious. Like, it's not good. I didn't enjoy going through this movie and having this message of global warming just fucking blasted on me, because that's not how you do a message. Like, you can, there's a thing called nuance, people. You can have nuance. It's not fucking rocket science to have some nuancy in your fucking movie. Like, it isn't that hard. I mean, maybe if you're fucking inept, but like, it isn't that hard to have some sort of like leniency on the audience to pick up on context clues. Your audiences aren't 5 years old, and you aren't a 5-year-old writer. Like you should know how to write stuff. You can make a movie about global warming and its effects on people, on animals, and like the fucking and like the polar ice caps. It's a big part of the movie that hammered it in for me. Like, oh yeah, the polar ice caps are melting because of the orichalcum. Like, it's such a big message, and the thing is that the nuance was there. They could have had the nuance of having this, like, the nuance was fucking there. Like, it was there. So the thing is, like, in the movie, the movie is about how like this evil civilization rising up from glaciers that have been melted because of greenhouse gas. They put greenhouse. The thing, why I say it's forced is because they hammer in the phrase that the energy source orichalcum is emits greenhouse gases, and like that is why it's like, I feel like it's so hammered in, because the thing is that it uses real world terminology. It uses like things that are happening, like it uses real world terminology to describe like what the effects of this like super sci-fi like the power source is. Like, it's emitting greenhouse gases. Come on, man. Like, there's a thing called nuance. Like, don't hammer it in. We're not 5 years old. People can pick up on context clues. And what I'm getting at, what I was trying to get at, is that, like, in the movie, the Lost Kingdom used the power source orichalcum, which again emitted greenhouse gases, and the Atlanteans didn't want them using it. But that's like a big focal point. That Black Manta wants to have a lot of orichalcum because it can't be destroyed, Because it's stored away it's stored away somewhere. It's what they use to power the machine, like the Lost Kingdoms machines, and all that shit. And like um like they can't destroy it because then it fucks up the planet more, so they have to store it away somewhere, so they go get it, and that's what they use. And it's like and like it yeah, it works, and it melts the ice caps to get to the kingdom. Like, this works. You want to know why it works? Because it's like at least some sort of new, like, there's like levels of like just it's like level, like it parallels what's like, it's like a metaphor. It's like substituting what could go wrong. So getting to a bit of science here, because I kind of want to make this parallel, because it's, it works. Like, I feel like this parallel could have worked if it just stuck to it being a parallel instead of it going word for word as to what could happen. Here it is. So orichalcum is the stand-in for, greenhouse gases, fucking coal emissions, and all that shit that are melting ice caps, and that happens in the movie that can stay, honestly. And it unleashes, and in the movie it unleashes this great kingdom of evil that's going to destroy all humanity. Well, in real life, there's not a kingdom of evil buried under the ice that will kill us all, but there is a bunch of prehistoric viruses that we don't have immunities to, or we don't have the antibodies, and like a bunch of other diseases from millions of years ago that have not been out there, and that people and nature hasn't had to adapt to in so long, frozen under ice. So when it melts, those viruses, those bacteria, not those diseases, not bacteria, but those diseases could start to reproduce and fuck us all over. See, it's a parallel. Like the kingdom is these diseases, the ice caps are the ice caps, because I don't really mind that part. But then the orichalcum is all the fucking like gunk we shoot into the atmosphere. It's there, and there's a nuance there. Like, there's like actual, like, you can get the information from there. Like, this is this is for fixing global warming. And like it's like, and instead of doing that, they beat it over your head, so you don't forget it, and that's what it makes it bad. That's what makes it bad. Like, the message just isn't it isn't conveyed well, because it's beating you over the head with it, and the plot falls apart because the plot sounds like the movie sounds stupid using all of these terminologies. Like, it sounds forced. The writing suffers because of it, I feel. Because instead of it being trying to be an actual movie, it's mostly trying to be a PSA for global warming. So the writing falters. There's not a lot of wiggle room here, because you're constricted to being that. Like, I am all for putting up borders on your writing to really flesh it out and do some other stuff. But when it's to the detriment of your actual like story, like, maybe don't do that. So I feel like that's just my genuine opinion on that. I don't feel like it's really any good. Like, the message could have worked, but it did not work, and it really, really, really affected the movie in a bad way. That's the other thing I want to mention, is that I've mentioned this before, but there are some underdeveloped villains. So again, Black Manta isn't exactly the best developed villain. We do have backstory for him. Sure, we have backstory, but the thing is that it again, like I said earlier, it's not explored in the movie. It's not really mentioned. So that leaves us with Kordak, or the fuck his name is. And what does he have? Well, he is just like, he's like built up, kind of. He's at the very, like the last half of the movie, like, he was this evil king that wanted to, that didn't really care about him. I don't even fucking remember. He just didn't care about humanity and shit. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. The Wikipedia page doesn't really fucking say anything about him being about him like why he wants to destroy all of what you why he wants to like I don't know fucking know why he's evil why Kordax is evil. Um. So yeah, so he's underdeveloped. We don't really learn about him much, and we don't really fear him because he's never mentioned throughout the entirety of the movie. There's nothing like Black Man. That's the Black Trident, and that's like brought up sometimes, but that's not really the main point of the movie. So you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck was the point of that? Until the very end, like, okay, that's the point of that, but like that comes really out of nowhere. And like that, and like Kordax isn't really that big of a villain, anyways, because Kordax, he shows up, we get the backstory for him, and then he shows up and he revives, and he's there for like 2 minutes, and then he's instantly killed. It is not. That's not how you do a big build-up villain. You have to mention him early, not early on, but at least with some time so the characters know what the threat is and the audience knows what the threat is, and then like at the end you can introduce him and he's at his most powerful, and that's when the real battle begins. But that's not what this movie does. What this movie does is instead it decides to just kind of jump into bring it all to the second half and have absolutely no build up to him whatsoever, aside from like aside from like stuff happening there here and there, like with Black Manta, and that's really about it. That's all they did with him, and then he dies. Yeah, yeah, just overall like not a good villain. There are not any good villains in this movie. It's kind of disappointing to see. So yeah, because villains are sometimes like the best part of the movie, and here with Black Manta being one of the villains, I think that it could have been better, but it just kind of wasn't better. So yeah, some other to talk about talk about characters. There's some weird character decisions here. I think the one that stands out most is the fact that Volko, the Atlantean that was played by Willem Dafoe in the movie, died again to kind of more fit into the climate, like the global warming a message that he died because of a disease that was like brought upon by the orichalcum, by the recent usage of orichalcum. Like, it's so stupid. Don't kill characters off screen who have had important roles just to kill them off and to really make a message about it. Don't. We don't really his death doesn't impact anyone. It's his death is just kind of there because they probably couldn't get Willem Dafoe to actually play the character, so it just feels kind of weird. I don't know. It's so bizarre. That's one of the big ones. I can't really think of any other ones. It's just like, aside from like the villains and Black Manta and all that. Like there are some just weird character decisions that they made plot wise, like to benefit the plot in quotations, and that I've just kind of floundered and didn't work at all. So yeah, no, it's all around not good. The plot is not good, and they make a joke about like to actually talk about the plot. To actually talk about it, kind of. It's not it's not badly paced. It's just kind of uninteresting, and again, like I mentioned, like the most like the plot is the fucking global warming BSA. So like, there's not much of it, and you just kind of go set through like location to location, and like that's really like just because the plot demands it and all that. It's mostly go from point A to point B, and do stuff there, and then move on. That's really the entire plot is. It's not paced horribly. It's not like it's just kind of uninteresting. It's something that we've seen a million times, and something that was kind of made with the first Aquaman movie, having discovering something old in ancient, and the fact and the world building they did with this movie isn't exactly the best either. So yeah, the plot does really suffer because of these decisions, and I feel like they could have done a lot better, but they have not, and that's really the movie. I guess we could talk about the future slash not. I put here unfuture of Aquaman. We know that Jason Momoa is coming back in the DC universe, but he's not playing Aquaman. He's playing Lobo, which is interesting that they've already announced that. So that makes me think that we will see Lobo in the next few movies, maybe even like in the Supergirl movie. I don't think it's gonna be in the Superman movie, but I feel like the Supergirl movie is most likely where we will be seeing Lobo like being introduced. I feel like that's the safest bet for the character. I don't see anywhere else. But yeah, interestingly enough, we don't have an Aquaman movie. We don't have an Aquaman movie for the first chapter of the DC universe. Like the only Justice League members that are really getting one are Green Lantern, like getting a project, are Green Lantern, Batman, and Superman and Supergirl. I guess you could also make. I guess she could be a little bit like she could be more standalone. But there are members of the Justice League that are being introduced in this in the first chapter, and you're not getting a Justice League movie. As of yet, we don't even have like a full team technically, like 7 members. That's what usually the Justice League starts off with, which I'm interested to see how they'll actually do that. I'm guessing that we will be getting a Justice League movie, maybe in chapter 2. I feel like that's when we'll be getting one. I feel like they can't really go on without it. They're probably giving what they're doing is I think they're giving some time away from the DCEU movies. We haven't had a full Batman movie like set in a universe ever, really. Like set in an actual like cinematic universe ever, really. So there's that. We have the Batman. We have the Batman movies, but we don't have like a Batman like a Batman in a with like Superman and all that. Aside from DCU Batman, Superman hasn't had a movie in a very long time. Like it's upwards of like when the next one Superman comes out, it will be 12 years since the last Superman movie, like solo Superman. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, no, it's just like we won't be seeing Aquaman. I think for a long time. I think they're giving a lot of these characters a space, so they can then introduce their own versions by the time that we have already like accept that these characters aren't coming back the way that they did. Who knows? Maybe the fucking Justice League is already part of it. Maybe I don't know. I think Peacemaker Season 2 will confirm a lot of stuff because it is the only one that's really. I mean, Creature Commandos is carrying on some stuff from the Suicide Squad, which is gonna be really weird because Suicide Squad was kind of like, but I guess Suicide Squad before the Justice League. I don't know. I don't know how this will work, but we'll see how it all works in the end. But yeah, we won't be seeing Aquaman for a very long, at least for a good while. I'm pretty sure by Chapter 2 we'll be getting our DC Universe Aquaman. But yeah, he's not going to be Jason Momoa. So there's not really a future here. I'm honestly fine that they sort of left off the DC EU with like no real strings left aside from some other stuff. Like I guess like the last movie didn't have like a big sequel finish like thing. It's just kind of there. So yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, no. That's Aquaman the Lost Kingdom. A bit of a whimper to go off of. Not very good. Has some enjoyable things about it. Has some potential that I do kind of enjoy. But honestly, it was kind of hampered by its message. But it's not a horrible movie. It's just kind of bad. So that's why it is going in the D tier. Not good. Not bad. What? No. Not good, not okay, but not awful either. Just there. being awful. Being bad, not awful. So, what did you guys think about Aquaman The Lost Kingdom? Leave in the comments below. You can follow us on our socials, currently available socials. Those are all in the YouTube description. And that's about it. See ya.